My guest today runs the #1 guided meditation channel on YouTube. And that channel, which features sleep meditation music, has 3.3 million subscribers. Another channel of his, Relax and Rejuvenate, has 1.3 million subscribers. And if my math is correct, that's a total of 4.6 million subscribers between the two channels. And I thought I was hot stuff with nearly 400,000 subscribers. I'm talking about this guy right here, all the way from Australia. It's Jason Stephenson. Jason, welcome to The Inspired Life.
Thank you very much, Bob. It's great to be here. I've got to say, when you were calling out those numbers, because I don't sort of get to see them so much these days, and I was just like, 3 million, and then you said another million, 4 million, because I remember it used to be 3 million combined, and then it's just like, whoa.
Yeah, I did my research and I went to your website, and because it's the main one that I've listened to. But yeah, you had that second one. That's a pretty impressive numbers too. And this is really a thrill for me because I've been doing affirmations on my own channel and growing that for a good 7.5 years now. And so I'm well aware of other people kind of in this space. And I've been following you, aware of you, and I actually listen to you and have fallen asleep to your voice many times, like I know many people around the planet have. And this is really interesting for me because it's putting me in a position. I hear this feedback a lot from people who go, Bob, I wake up to you every morning. I go to bed with you every night, and all this as a joke. And so now I'm telling you this, and so I know what it's like to be in the shoes of one of my own viewers, And so thank you for putting this stuff out into the world. And so you bet. It seems like another cool thing about this, it seems that you, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it's safe to say that your niche or niche, however you want to call it, is in the sleep meditation music. It's those long, 8-hour things, which I've never done anything at that length. I know there are a number of channels that do these long overnight things that you listen to, and your affirmation stuff kind of focused on sleep, where my niche is more morning affirmations and more in the 10 to 15 minute kind of short range. But is that safe to say that is kind of where you excel?
Yeah. When I originally started the channel, it was usually just, some 10-minute ones, 15-minute ones, 20-minute ones. Usually 20 minutes were kind of the max when I first started. Mm-hmm. But then what happened was I started to do these sleep meditation ones, and then it seemed to be that people were saying, we want more of that. And so I simply followed where they wanted more. And so, yes, now it is at the moment right on sleep meditation.
That's awesome. And when did you start I know I'm going to go back and talk about your history, but when did you actually start posting these types of things on YouTube? What year would that have been?
Back in 2012.
2012. Okay. So we're
12 years. Is that?
Well, no. 10. We're in 24 now, so that'd be 14 years. Yeah, I think, if that's correct. So that's pretty amazing. And I did a similar thing. Actually, when I started, I had this playful, I was experimenting with YouTube after I'd been on it for 10 years. I got on in 2006. And toward the end of 2016, I started experimenting with things. I'm a musician myself, which I want to talk to you about. But I was recording this meditation music. I tried the normal relaxation guided meditations. I was just throwing a lot of different stuff out there. And then I did this thing with an abundance affirmation. And that's the one that started getting the views. So I paid attention. So as I experimented throughout the next year, I paid attention to, they like the morning affirmations. They like abundance. They like gratitude. And so you kind of lean into what people are responding to. It sounds like you did the same thing.
Yeah. You sound so much like me, because when I first started, I loved experimenting. I still love experimenting today. Sure enough, I can't sort of do it too much on the channel because it's sort of structured to, for the sleep and relaxation. But right. I'm doing little bits and pieces elsewhere because I love experimenting.
That's very cool. Good. And I think I don't know a whole lot about your creative background. Actually, let's kind of shift into that. As I have so many questions that I want to, before I ask this next one, do you mind if I ask what your age is, Jason?
8.
58. Okay.
I've got to think about this all the time.
you were. I don't know if you were hesitant or you actually had to think about it.
58. I think I'm 58 at the end of this year. That's
Okay,
right.
so you're not there yet. You're 57 on your way to 58. Okay, I'm a little bit ahead of you. So I just turned recently. I turned 64, and I'm well aware of what these numbers are, kicking and streaming into my 60s here. So we're so similar ages, but it's great to see that you don't have to be a 20 something to be successful on YouTube. Great examples of later, somewhat later in the seasoned age of your life, you can do
Yeah, it's
well, right?
open to everyone. It's open to all.
That's
Yeah.
really cool. So yeah, I'm going to ask you so many questions coming up here, but I want to like to hear about your origin story. And so, like on your website and other places, you allude to getting into some trouble or having troubling times in your 30s. But I really like to know more about that and what led you to use meditation and affirmations, like in your personal life, and then how that inspired you to start the YouTube channel and share them with the world. So whatever you want to share about that journey, I'd love to hear.
Yeah. Well, I could take you back to my very, very young age when I was going around Australia, and I took some time off with my family. I was blessed for my mum and dad and my two brothers to take 6 months off school, and we went around Australia traveling and got to be out in the desert. I've got a love for the desert now, and just got to see and witness so many beautiful places. And I remember there was one place I loved being on my own. I loved wandering off and being alone and finding that solitude as a young child. I think I was about 9 years old. We're at this place called, I believe it was Geeky Gorge in Western Australia. I'm pretty sure it was Western Australia. And I remember I found myself sitting there on the bank of this slow moving river. And I didn't realize what meditation was about then. But what I do remember, what I can recall is this beautiful peace that just swept over me. And in those moments, I had everything that I'd ever needed in that so many minutes, however many minutes I was sitting there for. And that stuck with me. That profound peace and connection literally changed me. And I moved on, Bob, and it was not until my early 20s where I had a similar experience, even more powerful. I was at the Royal National Park outside of Sydney. And again, out of nowhere, this profound peace again just swept over me and fulfilled me and magnified the beauty of the area that I was in. And that includes sound, senses, visuals, just magnified the love. And it was so powerful. Honestly, I had no idea what on earth was going on. It was just like everything was just coming through me and buzzing through me. And I ran back to my parents. I remember getting on the train, going back to my parents' place and telling them, and they're just like, yeah, okay, Jay, yeah, sounds good. But I could never, ever explain what had happened.
Wow.
But I believe there was something about that. Now, I think through that experience, I longed for that again and again, and I could never get it again. It never happened. And so I ended up starting some meditation. I remember catching glimpses of it in some deeper aspects of meditation, especially when I'd meditate in a float tank. They call them sensory deprivation tanks, I think, in some places. I would catch glimpses of those moments. And so then meditation was much needed, and it was certainly much needed in my early 30s, because sometime in my 20s, I went off track. And I think the reason why is I was introduced to the drug ecstasy. And I think in taking that drug, it was the time when it took me back to that spiritual experience on the mountains at the Royal National Park. And I was enthralled. I thought, my goodness, this is it. This is what I've been searching for. And that kind of really locked me into going down that pathway. And, this started to be this dependence on that drug, and then trying other drugs and drinking a lot. And so that's how I went right off track.
It sounds like at a young age you had almost like a spiritual awakening with these like two incidents where you realized the benefit of just quieting your mind. It sounded like you also benefited from being in nature, right? But you were able to get that naturally, and then yeah, not being able to reclaim that or go there again, and then suddenly this substance helped you experience again. I could see why it would be sort of a lure, but you took it too far. It sounds like, yeah.
That it just started to be this dependence, and thought, oh, okay, I can revisit this every weekend, and then
Yeah.
every Friday night, Saturday night, Sunday night, then starting to be during the weeks as well. And then it started to mess things up, mess my life, mess my bits of work up that I was doing.
Yeah.
And
So
yeah,
was there a certain low point that just led to you, okay, I got to find a better way to live?
yeah,
Yeah.
it definitely was. I was totally off the rails, and that was including sex, drugs, and rock and roll was everything. And I would say an overall abuse of my body, mind, and spirit.
Hmm.
And then I think the lowest point, and I would say another awakening, was when I was diagnosed with HIV. I was not expecting that, and that hit me like a ton of bricks. And it was just a really difficult time, because I remember feeling so much guilt and shame and all these low vibration feelings. And the thing that hurt me the greatest, I felt like I'd let my parents down,
Mm.
and that they've given me so much love in life, and that it still upsets me to this day of just that thought of, it was like, yeah, it was sort of the end. It felt like the world just opened up, and I just fell and down and sunk into a dark place.
Wow. But you must have found your way out. And was meditation and affirmations part of your journey back to a more fulfilling life, or where you are now?
Absolutely. And
Yeah.
so was my singing as well. In fact, I will tell you one thing. When I left that doctor's surgery, and I left with not much hope, I went home, and the first thing I did was I sang. And I picked up the microphone and I sang a song called Stand Tall. And I felt this surge of power run through me again, maybe close to like what I felt with those spiritual experiences. And after I put down that microphone, there was something inside that said, you're going to get through this.
Mm.
And you've got all the power within to get through this. And singing was the greatest thing for me, where even though I suffered with anxiety around that time, and then, what I didn't want to go out, but the singing is what I held on to, and also meditations, affirmations. And around that time, I think The Secret, the movie, had come out, and I would play that movie over and over and over again, and it inspired me. It helped to lift me out of these dark places where I knew that anything was possible. And
It's
it wasn't until one day, Bob, I was on the beach. I was walking my dog, and I got to see the sun come up again. And again, it was so beautiful. And I whispered to myself, I just said, I'm living here in vitality. This is so beautiful. I'm living here in vitality. Now, if you take here in vitality, it stands for HIV,
oh,
here in vitality. And that wasn't kind of planned. I just thought, this is amazing. This beautiful place that I'm in. There's no more need for darkness. I'm here. I'm alive. I'm living. And so it was a wonderful reminder for me, because every time when I went to the doctor's surgery from that point on, when they talk about HIV and there'd be doom and gloom, I would always rephrase that in my mind with, here in vitality, here in vitality.
mm.
I'm here in vitality. Because it took a lot to overcome that darkness.
Wow.
Yeah.
So the Secret came out around, because I remember it well. The Secret came out around 2004. I'm not sure if you saw it right when it came out, but we're talking like 20 years ago for that. And so obviously all these years later, you seem to be doing well. Health wise, things are going well. Yeah.
Very blessed. I'm very, very blessed. And of course, they've got great medications today. I just feel 100% blessed and thankful to all my friends and family and all the people that supported me through those times, just filled with love. So
Wow.
very thankful.
Well, that's definitely something I did not know about your life. That's an impressive comeback. I want to ask you about you alluded to singing, and I think I've heard that you have like a creative background, maybe in theater and music. Can you just tell me? Because I've done a lot of things. I played in rock bands. I'm a guitar player, singer, songwriter. I've done improv, comedy, all kinds of stuff. So, what is your creative background?
My parents are both musicians. They've been musicians all their life, professional musos. They played in big bands and jazz bands. And so I grew up surrounded by music. That's what I heard all the time and loved it. And I was begging my parents to take me to lessons. I wanted to learn to sing, I wanted to learn to act. That was just a part of who I was. And they did. I went to the Conservatoire of Music in Wollongong City. I loved singing, and then went on to the talent quest circuit in Sydney and Wollongong, then started to get work. I think the greatest blessing was when I got to sing about, I don't know, 10, 15 years ago in a Buddhist songwriting contest with a friend of mine, Paul Heeden.
A Buddhist songwriting contest? Is that what you?
Yeah, Buddhist. Yeah,
Okay. Oh,
Buddhism.
wow.
And we ended up going overseas, got invited to go to Taiwan and Singapore, Malaysia. And to me, that was just like living my dream of I got to experience singing in front of large crowds and different countries. And yeah, very, very blessed. I love singing. I love it so much.
That is awesome. Yeah, I continue to do it to this day. It's a very part-time thing. In fact, one of the things that sets me apart compared to other people doing affirmations is that I sing affirmations over like an electronic dance beat. I have like 3 tracks, but one of them has over 800,000 views. I love being able to add that aspect of who I am to what I create. And it sounds like you
I
do the
love
same.
that. And Bob, could I just say there in regards to that, one of my first projects was a children's CD, Affirmations in Word and Song, and a guided meditation for children. I believe it was called I Believe in Myself. And it was exactly what you're talking about. I wanted children to not have to go through what I went through and to really know themselves deep down and to begin to believe in themselves. So affirmations in song, they work fantastically.
Yeah, because if you can sing them, if you can dance to them, it's even taken it to a whole nother level. It's the way that I look at it. It's one thing to say them, think them in your mind, write them out, but as much as you can embody them, I think the more that they sink in, that's your subconscious.
I need to check them out. I need to check yours out.
I'll send you a link to some of the more popular ones there. Yeah,
Yeah,
because that's part of my experimentation. But so. I think I misspoke earlier when you said you started doing your meditation stuff in 2012. That's 12 years ago. Yeah, instead of 14, I think I might have said, but it's been over a decade. So you said you discovered the secret and started adding these things to your life more in the 2005-ish. So you're another 7 years before you started the YouTube channel, approximately. So what motivated you? And I'm wondering, was there any kind of fear or hesitation on your part to put yourself out there with doing this meditation, affirmation stuff, or did this seem like the right thing to do?
It seemed like the right thing to do. And because of my previous acting skills anyway, it was fun to edit and to get in front of a camera and start to speak to people. And it just felt like the right thing to do. I loved it.
And when did you first get an indication? Because it took me a while to realize, oh, this is a thing. Because I was still on my channel, like throughout 2017, maybe even in 2018, I was still posting other things related to what I do. Like I'm a published author and I do comedy and, personal, family vacation stuff. I was doing a whole hodgepodge of things while I was weaving these affirmations in until I realized, oh, this is a thing I really need to take seriously. And then I did away with all the other, I kept them in my archives, but I stopped doing the non-affirmation content after a while, just went all in on it. How long did it take you to see like, oh, this is something that I should take seriously?
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what happened. I actually started maybe I put out about 20 videos and nothing was happening. There was no one watching. Like literally it was 2 or 3 people a day, if that. And I thought, oh, okay, I don't know if this will ever see the day of light. So I actually let it go for about 6 months, totally let it go, did other things in my life. Then what happened was I started to get these emails of these people. Oh, you have a new subscriber. You have a new subscriber. And they started to come in faster and faster. I'm thinking, okay, what's going on here? I better just go and check. Why are these people coming in? And then it was one of the videos. I looked at the views and it was like thousands. It would have been 2 or 3,000 or whatever. I'm like, oh my goodness, what is going on? And that is when I thought, wow, maybe I can create some more.
Right.
And that was the start of it.
And that's a thing for any aspiring YouTubers out there. You have to put out a lot of stuff. Views are not distributed evenly. You put out 20 videos, and one of them by far is going to have probably 10 times the average of all the others, and it'll be probably the one you least expect to do that.
Yes.
And then just like ask yourself, why was that one popular? What's about the title? And then do more of those types of things, or things related to that. That's how a lot of YouTube channels grow. So that's great. So I wanted to ask you why the two channels. So your main channel it has both of them have your name, but one of them is the sleep meditation music. That's the 3.3 million. The other one, relax and rejuvenate, the one with 1.3 million. Why did you separate them, and how are they different? And what was the decision
Yeah.
process there?
We decided to separate them because some of the comments, when I had the first one with just the voice with my meditations, then some people would say, oh, I like the music, but I don't like your voice. Or it'd be, I like your voice, but I don't want the extra music. And we were thinking, okay, well, what can we do? Let's separate these channels so then everyone can be happy. The ones that like my voice, they can have my voice. The ones that don't, they can go to the other channel. So there'll be no discrepancies there. And that seemed to work.
So relax and rejuvenate is music only. You're not
Yeah,
speaking on any of them, but you're speaking on everything else on the sleep meditation music
that's
channel. So, okay, I didn't realize that. I guess I mainly listened to the one with your voice. Let's just talk briefly about the power of affirmations. This is a topic that's near and dear to my heart. This is a really interesting opportunity because I rarely get to speak to anybody who has as much time invested and even more time than me in this topic of affirmations. But I just want to get your thoughts on my latest book. It's called The Power of Affirmations and Positive Self-Talk. It's been out for 2 or 3 years and doing well. Thank you. A lot of people know the power of them, but there are some people I'm sure you've encountered who feel like it's just kind of like surface level wishful thinking. They're not that, you shouldn't just rely on them or whatever. What are your thoughts? Because you not only create them, but you benefited from them yourself. I just love to hear your take on the power of affirmations.
Well, could I take you back quite a while? Probably when I was 6 or 7 years old. I remember a school teacher saying to me way back, she said to me, we're on this bus trip and we're all talking, kids all excited and everything. She said, do you know, Jason, you can have whatever you dream, whatever you want, you can have. She said it with so much conviction. And I looked at her and I said, really? And she said, absolutely. She said to me, say it like you already own it now. So I said, oh, so if I want a car, I just say, I have a car. She said, yes, I now have a beautiful, shining new car. And I looked at her, I said, it's that easy. And she said, it'll take a bit of time, but it'll work for you.
Wow.
And that stuck, thankful to that teacher.
Yeah.
Because that excited me and stuck with me forever.
At 6 years old.
What a gift. What a wonderful teacher to say that. And so, of course, you get on with life and I let it go, but it was always there.
Yeah, she planted the seed for sure.
The power of belief, whatever we choose. And so, of course, as I'd mentioned to you, the biggest affirmation that I'm living here in vitality would really help me. When I went through those really low points in life, what happened was I put up this in the bathroom and it was there for years. It just said, I am beautiful inside and out. I wrote it in calligraphy and stuck it up on that bathroom mirror. And I'm telling you now, when I first saw that, I didn't feel beautiful. I didn't feel it at all, but I would read it morning after morning when I'm brushing my teeth. I'd just see it there. And funny enough, years later, it got to a point where I knew it. I knew that was the truth, that I am beautiful inside and out. And even after I moved away from that house, that was the one thing I left on the mirror.
So there's this sort of like don't know if it's a debate or a line of thinking with affirmations where people say, if you say them and you don't believe them and your brain is rejecting, and I'm abundant, no, and your brain's going, no, I'm not. And I can see where people would get this, that you're doing a disservice to yourself. Some people say, oh, you're actually making things worse for yourself by saying these affirmations that aren't ringing true
Yeah,
for you.
yeah,
And so
yeah.
my response to that is, well, a couple things you can do. One is you can rephrase them. So instead of saying I'm a millionaire or I'm abundant, if you're not feeling that, you can go, I am ready for a new relationship with money. That's like a softer way of saying it, and it will resonate with where you are. Or I'm open to new streams of income. Even if you have $10 in your bank account, you're open to that.
Exactly.
But there's another thing that I believe too, that the resistance that you're hearing in your mind is like the old belief system kicking and screaming and trying to stay alive. That's what you're feeling and hearing. And even though you might feel silly, over time, just like the thing on your bathroom mirror, it does start to seep in, and eventually you do start to believe it more, right?
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that? Yeah.
100%. And I agree with that, rephrasing things to fit the way things are right at the moment. I think that's fantastic. But also, if you don't believe it, but you want to go somewhere, then you take that affirmation and also close your eyes and visualize it and feel it. So see it in your mind, whatever it is you want to be attracted to. See it in your mind and say the affirmation, but also get that buzz, that feeling inside, so you start to get excited by it.
Right.
Then when you've got that feeling and you that visualization on top, wow, that is super powerful, because that's when you're beginning to raise that vibration, become I think, trying to think of the name of, forget her name. You might remind me later, but she talks about being a vibrational match.
Maybe Abraham
so,
Hicks, Esther Hicks,
thank
perhaps.
you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
yes.
Thank
You're
you.
welcome. It's so true that just adding emotion to it is really important. So saying it, great, visualizing it, but if you can feel it too. And I know sometimes when you're saying the same affirmations over and over again, they can lose their freshness or whatever. So that's why there's hundreds of you have hundreds of recordings. I have several hundreds. So you don't have to do the same ones every day. Mix it up. Even take a break from it if you have to, or do something else. Journal, meditate, do a vision board. But yeah, keep at it, even when you think you're feeling better. Let's talk some kind of shop kind of related stuff. I'm just curious because, again, I rarely get a chance to talk to people that have big YouTube channels doing similar things that I do in the world. But I'm just curious of what your experience is with the growth or the health of your channel over in recent years. Like what I discovered was I had a lot of growth in both views and the revenue split, because I'm sure both of us are YouTube partners, and so we allow YouTube to run ads on our, I'm assuming that you do the same thing, and that they split any revenue they collect from advertisers with the creator. And that was going up and up kind of in the years of COVID. But over the last couple of years for my channel, the views have gone down a little bit. Ad revenue has gone down steadily, significantly. Have you experienced a similar thing even with your channel?
Yeah.
Are you doing well?
Still doing well, but absolutely, I hear exactly what you're saying. And I know right across the board, I know many creators in our line of work, everyone has been experiencing this, because I started to think, first I'm thinking, oh my goodness, we're doing things wrong. I'm doing something wrong, because that's what you think, right? When things start, but no.
I shouldn't feel bad if you're experiencing the same thing. With
everyone across the board is, experiencing this drop. Mm-hmm. And I think maybe what it's doing is it'll stabilize again. It's just the way it's been, and finding its
Don't give up hope. It's like, and plus we're still even though it's gone down, we're still reaching a ton of people, both of us, in our own respective ways. Another thing I'm curious about, this is something that I've wrestled with at first, and up until recent years, I was kind of following the pattern that there are other people that I follow, like Jess Shepherd, who's another fellow Australian. I hope to interview her in the coming months. Yeah, I love her voice. She seems to be doing some amazing stuff. And then what is his name? He does We Are Creators. And there are a number of people doing most.
Kenneth, is it Kenneth?
No, I can't think of his name. Justin is his name. I'm pretty sure it's Justin. Okay. Yeah, We Are Creators, and he's got some very his affirmation things have done really well. Although it's not all that he does, but a lot of you, your faces are not in your thumbnails. The thumbnails are mostly text over kind of a colorful background. And even in the videos yourself, I don't remember ever seeing you on camera. And so even though I've been doing on-camera stuff and I'm comfortable speaking into into a camera lens. I was following that pattern. You didn't see me. You just heard my voice, nice images. Recently, I was talking to someone who's very savvy, entrepreneurial. She goes, "Well, if you want to brand yourself, because you know who Lee Harris is, the Lee Harris and his energy
Yes.
updates. Yeah, he's somebody
Yes.
that I really admire. He's a channeler, so he does different. He's not doing affirmations or meditation stuff per se, but
Yeah.
somebody pointed out that every thumbnail, he's on camera. You know what he looks like, and so from a branding perspective, I started putting myself in my thumbnails more, and maybe having an introduction where you saw me speaking to the camera. But I'm curious, was that a decision that you made just to stay with your voice, stay in the background, and not the only place your
Yeah.
photo is at the top of your homepage on YouTube where we see
Yeah.
who you
Good,
are?
good question. Good question. If I had done things differently, I would have been seen now more in my videos. I think it's really important, as you said, from a branding perspective, because people might know my voice, but a lot of people don't know my face. And that's something I would consider more, because what's happening now is we're starting a new channel or a new business. And so my suggestion is for you, you're doing the right thing. Get
Oh,
your
good.
face out there as much, for business wise, at face and voice, because then you'll be easily recognized.
Yeah, so there's some benefits to that. Yeah, to being like you, I've got my name has always been in there. Bob Baker Aff are there. Thank you for confirming that I was heading in the right direction. Now, where
Yeah.
else? Like, I think you do some similar things that I do. YouTube is the only place where you distribute your work and your audio. I notice on your website you're pointing a lot of people to Spotify, and you got a pretty decent number of followers there. So, where else do you share and post your meditations and affirmations and so on? Spotify, I guess you get into the streaming services and other places like Insight Timer, or do you have your own
Yeah,
app?
Timer as well. And of course, when it's sent out to quite a few of them,
The streaming,
Deezer and all the streaming services, Amazon.
Pandora,
Um,
all of them. Yeah.
but we're looking at another community platform where it'll be our new program that we're launching soon. In regards to the meditations, YouTube is the main one, but we're doing our best to make sure our work is now seen across the board,
Yeah.
all the places.
Same here.
Yeah.
I have like 18 digital albums now on Spotify, Apple Music, all typical music streaming places where I compile themed albums of my affirmations and some music also. Do you happen to have a separate audio podcast of your work by any chance? There might be a podcast option through YouTube, a separate one. The reason I bring this up, about 5 years ago, I thought, even though this is a video, there's a visual component because it's on YouTube. Really, most people consume these. I think for both of our work, they don't even watch the videos most of the time, right? And so I thought this is really an audio media. I took the audio from these videos and started something called the Affirmation Meditation Podcast with Bob Baker. About a year, I was originally using it. I thought it'd be a good way to drive some traffic to the YouTube channel. That's what I mainly thought, and another way to reach people, right? Little did I know that it has become pretty successful. A year ago, I hit 5 million downloads in 4 years. It gets about 60,000 downloads a month now. Little tip for you, if that speaks to you, it might be another way to.
I would say we've talked about that for about 4 or 5 years. I first heard about it way back in about 2014, 2013. This guy at the shop said, "You've got to get yourself on podcasts. You've got to do podcasts." So I've heard everyone say it. I don't believe we've done anything. I think it's never too late. You've had success, and I congratulate you.
You bet.
And I hope that, one day we can do that, because podcasts are the way to go. Using them, right?
Little did I know, more and more people. YouTube is my primary platform. It's where I reach the most amount of people, but the podcast has become the second way. And then follow, I guess, by my email list. I've been building an email list. I'll probably ask you about that too. People are kind of like eavesdropping on like a mastermind or brainstorming session between two YouTubers. I think it'd be really inspiring for people. I wish I would have ran into an interview like this years ago. Let me ask you, you mentioned you're using this reference to we. So how much of this stuff do you do yourself? Do you have a team? And I have a feeling it's probably evolved over the years. So share a little bit about that.
Yeah, when I first started, of course, it was all me, do everything as you do. And then it started off with one employee back in about 2016, I believe, or 15. He still works with me today. So he was assistant. And I'm going to tell you, I was scared, to put on someone. I was like, oh my goodness, what am I doing? Who do I think I am? How can I afford this? And all this, it's all that belief and that negative voice saying, you can't do that. Who do you think you are? And anyway, I pushed through it.
Right.
That was a great help. I was like, okay, maybe I can get someone else on later. And so then another one, then another one. And right now today we have about a team of, I don't know, I'd say 8 people that are either permanent, part-time, some full-time. And then also numerous contractors for musicians. We've got about 3 musicians and various contractors for technical stuff as well. So that's evolved.
So you contract with musicians to create the variety of background music that you use? Is that it?
Yes.
And I assume that's exclusive to you. Have exclusive use of that, right? And do you have then audio editors, video editors, all the above now? Okay.
All of the above. Yeah. So right now, all I need to do in regards to the YouTube channels, the only thing I need to do is I send a briefing to the writer. So I give them an idea of what I work with a wonderful writer, Gillian, absolutely amazing. So what I do is I send a briefing of how I want it to go, where I want it to go, et cetera, et cetera. She gets onto that. I record the voice and that is it. I don't even have to edit the voice anymore. I don't do any of that. I don't do any visuals. I do the recording and upload and that's it.
Wow, that's amazing. I'm still doing much of the work. Yeah. I have an audio editor. I'm still doing the scripting. So you even have people script like the meditations and the affirmations, I assume, too. You say that I want to do one on abundance or whatever it is. And
yeah, affirmations I'm pretty okay with because I can do that quite quickly. But just with my scripting, I use this writer. And I've often said to her, and I say to other people, she's a part of me now. She's been with me for so long that when I get her script, I don't even have to check them anymore.
That's amazing. Yeah.
My staff give them to me to approve, but I'm telling you now, like, I don't believe I've ever knocked back one. I can get her to tweak something. And so what happens is when I go to read that, it comes naturally. It's like she's become my second voice. She is amazing. And so we have this great understanding and we work well together. Love her dearly.
That's a great team member to have. One quick, it wasn't even on my list, but this occurs to me. On those 8-hour affirmation things, obviously you're not doing 8 hours worth of speaking there, so it's on a loop. How long do you go before you start repeating it? Is it a half hour? Is it 20 minutes or what? And then I think you maybe after a while stop the affirmations and just let the music play. I could be wrong, but why don't you tell me what your basic structure is of an 8-hour sleep affirmation video?
Yeah, if it's affirmation video, it's usually about a 20-30 minute program and then repeated. Sometimes we do that for even 2.5 hours, 3 hours, and then we fade out.
And so they can just music only. Yeah, I thought I had noticed that when I played some of your stuff, but that's interesting. I guess as good as the affirmations are, I guess you even want to give people a break, their brains a break, so it's just music after a while, right?
Yeah, sometimes people have said, "Oh, I wish you'd keep speaking," and so I thought, I wonder if they want to be they want to wake up and they want to hear that voice, so that helps to lull them back to sleep.
Right.
So that's another thing too, but. I think we've tried them, and it seems to be that the one with where it quietens down.
It works best. And so give people more of what they want.
Yeah, exactly.
So I want to talk a little bit about your business model, but before we get into the specifics of that, first I just want to ask you, what is your philosophy on the business aspect of what you do, the monetization aspect? I have a feeling you probably have a philosophy about that sort of informs what you do. So maybe share that first, and then we'll talk about some of the specific things that you offer outside of the YouTube channel.
It's really interesting you say that, because I remember when I first started to earn money on YouTube, and I started to sell other programs through the description links. And so I would mention it this was the early days when I would talk onto the camera. Mm-hmm. And some of my customers would get really angry at me and say to me, you've got a spiritual channel. How dare you charge money? And back then it made me question things. I'm thinking, am I not meant to charge money because I talk about spirituality? What? Hold on a minute. And then I saw people started to stick up for me in the comments, and they said he has a right to charge money, and he can charge money. Everyone's got to eat. And so thank goodness people started to say that. And so I didn't question stuff so much. And, my philosophy is the main thing is being of service.
Mm-hmm.
And to focus on being of service. And even when I record today's meditations, before I record a meditation, my aim is, and I say almost a prayer, but just a silent moment of just helping one person.
Mm.
If I can reach one person and help them, that's my philosophy. I think the money side of things is, of course, it's wonderful. Of course, it's to have that weekly paycheck coming in. But what's happened now for me, I've got everything I need now, Bob. I've got everything I need and more. And I don't. So now my focus is, I've shifted my focus from, I used to count numbers. I used to count subscribers, I used to count views, and I used to count monetary. I think it's okay to set goals, financial goals. Of course it is. But what happened was I reached a stage of, after 1 million subscribers, it didn't mean anything anymore like it did before.
Mm-hmm.
It was like just this milestone I reached, and I thought, okay, we'll just keep going. And then slowly, what began to happen was this shift from a business, totally business-minded, although there was, I will say there was some giving, and
Certainly.
but I've shifted more into a service mode now, and all I want to do is to reach more people, to help more people.
It seems like when you stay focused on that, the money kind of can take care of itself, right?
Exactly. That's exactly what I'm saying. Is so the money takes care of itself. When we shift our focus to be of service, we're going to be looked after.
Exactly.
And it might not come straight away. I get that. I totally get that.
I'm glad that some of those people chimed in and stood up for you, because, I don't agree with the philosophy of just because you're doing something spiritual or in the personal development realm that you shouldn't be rewarded for it. Because I think, like you, like me, and I've done this even before my YouTube era, I had a whole ton of books out in the 90s and the 2000s on music marketing. People have like 16 physical books that I've published over the years. And when anybody complained, I would remind them or just let them know that I freely give away probably 85-90% of everything I've ever created, whether it's YouTube videos or blog posts or podcasts, or little chunks, because I want to reach as many people as possible. Hold back that small amount and create experiences, whether they're in person or digitally or a course or something that I charge for. And that's how I support my family. And the more free time that I and you have to devote to this work, the more people we can reach. So there's nothing wrong with wanting to be rewarded for the value you're creating, right? So
100%.
But I love your focus on serving first and then letting the money take care of itself. But you do offer some things outside of YouTube. When I went to your website, there were a number of courses, like some of them here are listed. There's Breathing into Prosperity at the current price that was there, like 147. I don't know if that's US or Australian dollars.
But we have that in US dollars.
Okay. Was it
60% of our audience is US now, and so when we put up AUD, we'd get these questions: "What's that?" So we just let's US dollars right across the board. So we're not having to explain things.
And the Aussies can do their own conversion.
Yes.
We had several of them there. I just got some examples. Daily Sparks was just like experience more joy in 21 days. That's $42. A couple of $97 programs, Co-Creating Miracles, Empowered Sleep Formula. And then you've got some bundles of your recordings. But tell me, like, what are some of the most successful things that you offer digitally like that? And how does that compare to the is this just like a sideline thing, or is that a sizable amount of your revenue?
Sideline thing, one day I hope it to be something more, and we're working towards that. But right now, this is a sideline thing. And I think one of the greatest little courses that I made, and it hasn't made too much money, but it was called Daily Sparks. And it was the most simplest course and the most joyous to make. And this is where it comes back to money, right? Because I was in my vibration, if you like. I was in my element, creating this 21-day program called Daily Sparks. And it sold the most courses. It's relatively cheap. It's a cheaper one.
Yeah.
But it was such a joy to make. I filmed it all out in the country, on the dirt roads out in the country. And so, of course, I was in my element filming it. I was in the beautiful nature, and that worked really well. But the latest one we've got is the Breathing into Prosperity, was breath work.
Mm.
Breath work has changed my life. I did a course 2 years ago now, and I started to study breath work. That blew me away. And I'm like, oh my goodness, I need to get a course on this, because this is life transforming. And because I've come from the background of only relaxation, breathing in through the nose, just releasing, just that slow, not the active breath work. When I tried the active breath work, holy mackerel, I was absolutely blown away. Because why? It literally transformed me in an instant, and it actually took me back to those days of that spiritual experience.
Wow. Well, that's impressive.
I went somewhere where I couldn't believe it. And
Well, that's the similarity between the Daily Sparks thing. It was a joy to create it. The breathwork thing, you're really into it. So you're doing things that are pertinent to you, but you're sharing them with
yeah,
other people who will also enjoy them. So I think that speaks to something, tapping into something that you're, as opposed to picking something that I think is going to sell, or what's trending on
yeah,
Google Trends or something. Just like, this is what's really meaningful to now. And I want to share this because I'm having an amazing experience with it. I think that's awesome. I know that you don't keep track of numbers, or as much as you used to, perhaps, but do you have a sense of, over the past year, like, what are these things that you offer outside of YouTube? Which one is people are resonating with more than others?
the programs, you mean?
Yeah, like the courses that you have, and you have bundles of your recordings, I guess, themed bundles that people can purchase
Yeah.
and download, probably ad free, because they might have to listen to an ad on YouTube.
I think the main thing was was Daily Sparks and the community aspect of that as well. I think community is very powerful, whether it's a Facebook community or whatever community you've got. People want to be heard and listened to. So if they get that opportunity to be heard in a smaller group or whatever, that's very powerful.
I didn't realize you had a community. I guess it just comes with that particular course, or did all your courses come with the community?
Yeah, well, this is where we're hoping to move in. Well, not hoping. This is where we are moving.
Okay, cool. I experimented with Patreon for a while, but about a year and a half ago, coming up on 2 years, we decided to use a program called, or a platform called Circle, where we're hosting something we call the High Vibe Tribe. My wife and I kind of run that, and modest success, not huge numbers, but we got like 40, between 40 and 50 paid members. But I love interacting with people on Zoom and in the discussion forums. So I'm going to ask you about that in a moment.
Yes.
But I don't remember seeing anywhere on your website where, like, a lot of people have an email list that they're building and they give like a lead magnet. That's the marketing term. Do you actively build an email list too?
Yes, and Lynn takes care of that. But yeah, that's been going now for probably 4, 5, 6 years now.
Yeah. I was a big proponent of email back in the 90s.
Honestly, if I would have really understood the power of it, I would have been doing that right from the beginning.
Yep, everybody says that. Nobody ever says, "I wish I would have waited longer to get an email." Or the same thing with writing a book. All right, just a couple more questions here. Really appreciate this. I'm loving this. Jason, what are the best parts of what you do? Like, what really lights you up, especially at this stage of your career where you're going, "Oh my God, I'm so blessed." What are those things that you most enjoy about what you do?
Well, I'll tell you one thing that comes to my mind is what's happened lately is I've reached a point where it's freed up a lot of my time to think other things, to create other things. My mind starts to expand. Once it's opened up and you have a little bit of free time, things begin to happen again. And so I can even catch myself out in the garden and just building my own little paradise. But in regards to work, what I love is sometimes I forget how many people that I'm reaching. I truly do, whether it's in Australia or overseas. And I've moved to this country town about 5 years ago, and someone saw me in the street from this little town of 1,200 people. And she's looked at me in the street and she said, oh my goodness. She said, are you Jason Stephenson? I said, yes, yes. And she said, I've listened to you night after night after. And I said, really? And she said, truly. She said, can I hug you? And I was, of course you can. And it was just that moment, that recognition that my work is out there helping people, because sometimes you do the work, or I do the work, and I can feel a disconnect from it because it's all online. I don't
Right.
get to see and meet all the people that it's helped. And so when I get that opportunity to bump into, even if it's one person, that just reminds me of how powerful the work is that we're doing.
That's amazing. I love hearing that. And I never will take it for granted the number of people that I'm reaching
Uh,
as well, even though those numbers are smaller, but it's not about comparison anyway. We're
no.
still both
Yeah.
doing good work in the world. On the opposite end of that, I think it's fair to ask, what are the most challenging things, aspects of what you do? Because life is a roller coaster. There are ups and downs. What are the most challenging things?
The challenging things in regards to staffing, and it's surrendering, surrendering over tasks, and especially sometimes creative tasks.
Hmm.
And it's that surrendering and that trusting. Because when you have a team of people, you can express your vision, but you also have to back off on that you've employed that person, they know what they're doing, and trust.
Yeah.
And so sometimes I might have a thing where I see something and I go, oh man, I would have done it a different way. I wouldn't have done it like that. And then I pull myself back and go, hold on a minute, wait and see. Just
Mhm.
wait and see. And oftentimes that wait and see works
Right.
because what they did really took off or was great work. So it's that holding yourself back.
Right. So you have to trust and
That's that,
empower the people that you put in charge of helping you. Right. Yeah.
yeah, that can be really it's not as easy as what I would have thought.
So you've alluded a couple times here to some new projects that you're working on. I think it has a community aspect to it. Whatever you want to share of that, I would love to hear. What's around the
Yeah,
corner for you?
we're about to release this program probably in the next few weeks called Zenji, and it's a platform where it's a community based platform for personal growth where we all learn each week meditation, yoga, nutrition. They're going to be live streams with different guest teachers, and we might even have you on it, Bob, one day. It'd
Oh,
be fantastic.
I would love that.
And so it's really focusing on that community aspect and learning and growing together. I've never done anything like this, and this has been a dream of mine probably for 5, 6 years. I've wanted
Mhm.
this for quite a long time, and it's just happening now. So just throwing it out there, caution to the wind. I have no idea, but we've got to try, right?
Yeah.
And
People
but I
crave
really believe
community.
that,
People crave community and connection, and so yeah, it's don't. I'm glad that you're not sitting on it like you did for email. With email, you just get out there and do
oh,
it, right?
yeah, you got to get out there and do it.
Do you know what platform you're hosting it on? I know there's a lot of
Uh,
options out there.
yeah, there's a lot out there and a lot of really good ones too. I believe it's going to be Heartbeat.
Well, I'm not even familiar with that. Okay,
Yeah,
cool. But yeah, not a
that's-
Facebook group, but it's somewhere where you can go and it's just for your community and everybody can,
yeah.
yeah, interact. But yeah, I will. Sounds like something I would need to be a member of myself. So, Jason, where can people find you online? I'm
Mm,
assuming your YouTube channel is where the main place you want people to go, right?
that's right, Jason Stephenson Meditation. But if anyone wants to find out more, you can just go to my name, www.jasonstephenson.net.
.net.
And that has everything on it, and also free download meditations, different ones. It's got free resources, a button, and they can choose what they want, and that gets put on the email list, know what's going
Yeah,
on coming
absolutely.
up.
And just for folks that might be listening to the audio version of this, Stevenson is Stephenson. Jason's
Thank
the
you.
obvious. Yeah. And so, with folks that are listening to this, whether it's on YouTube or on my podcast, please subscribe and follow. There's an archive already of previous interviews. I got a lot of awesome people coming up as well. So make sure that you continue to follow along with these. But Jason, it was an honor and a pleasure to finally connect with you and talk some shop here and get some insight into what you're doing. I feel even more inspired than ever to continue this work. So thank you for doing this.
Thank you for having me, Bob. Yeah, it's been a true honor to meet you as well. And keep doing what you're doing, because you're doing great work. And I can't wait to see your song Affirmations too.
I'm gonna be sending you some links. I appreciate you saying that. All right, folks. So long for now.